Hello, and welcome to B.T.F.O. Today, I'm going to be talking about The Unbreakable Boy. Now, this movie I did not intend to see, mostly just because it's not really my genre of movie. I know growing up, just a little personal story. Growing up, my mom loved, still does, but she loves anything that says based on a true story or inspired by a true story, no matter how fictionalized it is. And growing up, I ended up watching a lot of movies that were based on true events or inspired by the real lives of people. And it kind of wore me out. Where, don't get me wrong, there are definitely good movies that qualify for that, but there's also a lot that are very the same and kind of generic. And I think that's where The Unbreakable Boy fits in. It's kind of weird. So I ended up watching this because it was a mystery movie Monday, one of those that the theaters do. And so I ended up watching this, and it's very weird because while it is sort of your generic, we're a struggling family with an autistic kid, how did we get through this, It's okay, it does qualify for that and is pretty generic when it comes to that. But it also feels really weird in that, because at the end credits, you find out that all of the people involved in this story are still very much alive, and that this didn't happen too far off, where I think the bulk of the story takes place around 2011, 2012. It's okay, yeah, which is weird because they then also frame it as though it takes place closer to now, which it doesn't, but it feels a lot like there's just a lot of truth missing from the movie. And a lot of the way that the movie is framed is really bizarre, where for example, it's weird because we start off with an opening narration from the child, Austin, and so it's okay, so that's gonna be our main character, which could be a better way to do this, of tell it from the autistic kid's perspective. And it's they kind of do that, but they just sort of give up at random intervals, where most of the movie is about the dad, Zachary Levi's character. And it's kind of weird where so the first scene we get is a jump forward in the story, which is definitely one of the it's a perfect example of, you could just start the story where it begins, and I don't need to see this right now. We could just build up to this. But so the first scene we get is they're at this New Year's party, and he gets really, really drunk and decides nah, I'm fine, I'm gonna drive the kids home. Then it's swerving on the roads, and so then we cut to oh, I guess you need to know the beginning, where did I come from? and like it starts with him like meeting the lady that'll become the mom. um they say they went on 3 dates and that it went really well, and then after the third date she like called him and was like, hey, I'm pregnant, by the way. And so then they show him like sitting out with like this like sitting around a fire, and he's got like a friend there, and his friend's like drinking a beer, and they talk briefly about like, oh, like, do you think you're like ready to be a dad or whatever? And then the friend offers him a beer, and he's like, nah, I'm good, I don't think I should be drinking right now. And so then the friend goes, okay, more for me. And then the narration comes back, which is really weird because it's the 13-year-old autistic kid. And Austin, like, in the narration says, oh yeah, I should explain that, like, I think he's Jerry. But like, Jerry, my dad's friend there, he's not real. He's imaginary. He's just like Tyler Durden from Fight Club. I freaking love that movie. And it's like, that's a really weird, like, it's like, yeah, I as an adult, I understand that reference, but like, your target demographic here, like, it's a PG movie. Like, the way you frame this is like, this is definitely for kids. Like, kids, aren't gonna get that reference, like, and also it's like, wow, way to ruin the movie Fight Club for them. Like, it's like, why? And then, it's also the meta of like, should Austin have seen that movie? Like, at his age? Like, I don't, and especially with, because we'll find out that he's got a condition where like his bones are extremely brittle. So like they break all the time. And it's like, yeah, I don't know that Fight Club is a movie that you should like allow him to watch, like, especially at that age. Like, I don't really think he's mentally able to handle that. At least not with the way that the like film is presented. But then, and it's really weird too because so Jerry, the imaginary friend, is essentially only in the film to have an excuse to have Zachary Levi like drink more, where like he'll order like double drinks and be like, yeah, it's for me and Jeremy, which is kind of funny where like they frame that as like, oh, that was when his work was like, oh, you drink too much, buddy. And it's like, I think his work might have thought that he was like schizophrenic or something. Like, that it's like, no, like the way that he just talks out in the open to this other person who's clearly not there. Like, I feel like that might have been the issue. But like, and they have Zachary Levi drink a whole lot, which is really kind of weird because like, they do the whole like last part of the movie is like, oh, you've got to like stay out of the house until like you're sober, and like you've got to go to AA, like recover and stuff. And it's like, that's all fine and dandy, but it's like, other than the one incident, like where he drives home drunk, there's really no other time where his drinking is an issue. Where like, I guess you could frame it as like it was an issue that cost him his job, even though that one was a weird like, because it was like him and a work buddy drinking like the night before like a work conference or something. And his buddy's like, okay, well, like we've got a meeting in the morning, so I'm calling it there. And he's like, okay, well, like, then I guess I'll just have another drink. And it's like, yeah, there's no, like, if he showed up late for that meeting, sure. Like, if he was hungover, like, that might be an issue. But it's like, I don't know, man. Like, if he just had another drink and was perfectly fine and showed up in the morning, like, I don't know that would really lose your job. But then, like, the only other instance in the movie besides those two that show him, like, actually drunk is the night of Thanksgiving. Like, after they've already had Thanksgiving dinner and stuff, they just show him, like, and this is at his house, they just show him, like, collapse in bed, drunk. And it's like, okay, but, like, I don't know, because, like, they do explain that the mom, her dad was a drunk, and, like, that it caused issues in her parents' marriage and stuff, and, like, caused issues for her and her life. And I was like, okay, sure, but, like, I don't know, it just feels kind of weird, where it's like, wouldn't you, like, feels like we should have seen something maybe a bit more to be like, you know, this is where, like, he's got a problem. But, and then, like, it is kind of weird where both of the kids, because of course we've got Austin, the autist, that like, the story is supposed to be about him, but it's really about his dad. And then he has a younger brother, Logan, who doesn't really have anything wrong with him other than he might be, like, stunted, where, like, he's a short, like, small kid, and his plotline is really, really lame, where, like, sure, yeah, it like, probably did happen in real life, but basically he gets bullied by a kid that's, like, mean to him and his brother. The kid, like, tries to steal his skateboard, and so they, like, get in a fight, and then they have Logan, like, tell the bully, like, hey, why do you pick on us all the time? Like, you're so mean, you're a cliche. Which it's like, okay, but here's the thing, though, is that, like, he's a real person. So I really doubt he was this cliche in person. And even if he was, you probably shouldn't write that into your movie. Because it's like, no, like, either you don't understand what the word cliche means, or, like, you know, you're just, like, using it, and you should realize that, like, no, like, we shouldn't have it there, because it's like, no, like, the whole point is that Logan is pointing out you're generic and boring, and, like, you know, we've seen this a million times. Why would you point that out in your movie when you're not doing anything special with it? Like, it's literally, because then in the next scene, they're like, oh, well, like, now Logan kind of feels bad for the bully, because it turns out that, like, his dad's in jail and his mom has cancer, and so he's sad all the time, and he takes it out on other kids. And it's like, yeah, okay, sure, but, like, again, like, you know, that is a cliche. I really wish you would have done something with it, like, because I don't know, I really doubt that, like, it was just that cliche in real life. You know, it's like, I feel like he was more of a human character in real life. But then, like, the dad gets all sober, goes camping with Austin, and then, like, it's kind of weird that they, like, at the end of the movie, in the title cards, they say that, like, oh yeah, the dad still talks to, like, Jerry all the time. And it's like, dude, I don't know, like, with the way that movie frames Jerry as basically an excuse for you to drink more, it's like, I don't know that that's a good idea to, like, put it in there that, like, oh yeah, I still talk to him all the time. It's like, are you still sober? Like, that's a weird, like, because they do say that Jeremy was his childhood imaginary friend that he continued talking to throughout his adult life, and apparently still talks to like, to this day. But it's like, in the movie, all we ever really see of Jerry is him enabling the drinking. Like, there's only one scene where he's like, hey man, you're being an alcoholic and that's not good for your kids. And it's like, that's it. Like, it's not like, it's just a really weird like way to frame that. And like, because there's a lot in the movie where it's like, I kind of wish that if they were to make this like story into a movie, I kind of wish they'd wait until people died to be like more brutally honest. Because it's like, I feel like they softballed it with the dad and his alcoholism. Or it's like, I feel like there's probably something a bit more there. The bully is very like generic, and it's like, I feel like there might be a bit more there that we're not getting. And then like, even with the mom, where like for the most part she's just the good character. Like, she is just seen as like, oh yeah, everything she does is good. Even though there are like weird parts in the movie where like at one point he finds out about like how much debt they're in, and they're in like $70,000 worth of debt. And we've been shown their like medical bill that was like $30,000 for like all the different bone breaks that Austin has had throughout his life. And it's like, yeah, that sucks. Like, I get it, outside of the movie, like, we do need like major reform of our healthcare system. Because it's like, yeah, that fucking sucks. Like, that would cost them $30,000. But it's also like, well, okay, but where's the other $40,000 worth of shit that like she spent money on? Like, like that I find really weird. And like, and then like, there is where, because like the mom, she only tells him after she's pregnant that it turns out she has the bone condition too. And she does call it type A, which is one thing that I wish the movie would have gone into more detail on. Is like, oh, okay, if she's a type A, is Austin a type B? Are there only two types? Is, like, is type A really mild? Or like, because she does mention that like she can't do like sports or skydiving or anything. And it's like, I don't know, like, just from a meta perspective, just looking at her and looking at Zachary Levi, it's like, I feel like before the third date, you probably should have told him about this condition. Like, just looking at the two of you, I'm imagining that he probably could have broken something, like, pretty easily. Like, so, I don't know, that feels like it would have come up before then. But like, I guess not. It's like, I'm not too familiar with, I think they call it OI. And it's like, yeah, I'm not too familiar with it, so maybe that's like fairly accurate. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. If you're into this sort of movie, I'm sure it's fine. But like, for me, it feels really lackluster and generic, and it feels like there's a lot of like true facts that are being kind of held back, and so I wish that we could get more on those and have a more complete story. But yeah, that's gonna be it for my brief thoughts on the Unbreakable Boy, who was in fact very breakable. But yeah, bye.